Cuphead is a popular platform running gun game created by studio MDHR in 2017. The indie project was given high praise for its unique art and witty reference to old cartoons. It quickly amassed a huge fan base and is the first thing most people think of when the word boss comes up in conversation. If you've ever heard of Cuphead, you were told the same thing I was. It's really freaking hard. If you haven't guessed by the fact that I'm making this video, I love Cuphead and it's very near and dear to my heart. I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring today and let you know what I think the king of beasts really is. And yes, I'm aware that the Cuphead hype died off and there's plenty of ranking videos out there, but I was a little wee baby when this was popular and nobody tells me I'm late to a party. We're doing this and we're doing this now. The rules are pretty simple. Any boss that gives a contract, aka the main bosses, and the ones that provide ingredients, so the DLC bosses, are all on the table. This does mean the King's Leap won't be included, and the King's Dice mini-bosses will fall under the singular King Dice fight. I will be ranking them based on their difficulty in normal mode, and grade will not be considered. I have beaten the game on expert, minus a few of the tougher bosses, like 3 of them, but that won't be taken into account. We will be going from least difficult to most difficult. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion, and nothing I say is factual. Although if you'd like to debate in the comments, feel free. With all of that out of the way, let's jump right into the rankings. Number 25, Goopy Legrand. What were we expecting, really? As the first boss most players encounter, he's more of a tutorial than an actual fight. And don't even try to tell me he has 3 stages. Ha ha ha, it's me, but big! That's not a stage, it's a steroid. In the first stage, and sorry, excuse for a second, he'll jump around and once in a while he shoots either his face or a punching glove depending on the round you're in. Both of these can be ducked under, and as long as you're careful where you stand, the jumping pattern shouldn't trip you up. In his final stage, Goopy literally comes to fight you from beyond the grave, which is a clever concept, kudos to Cuphead, with a giant angry headstone who's here to smash you. Oh no, however shall we dodge it? Easiest boss, I rest my case. Number 24, the Root Pack. So when I first played this game, I fought the Root Pack before I fought Goopy. Me and my poor eyesight couldn't tell the forest was a different color, so I decided to go to the very more prominent garden level. I will admit I died more than I probably should have, and it was a poor choice to start out on. But once I got it, it was super easy. None of the phases are particularly special. 2 minor notes though. The first phase, a potato named Sal's Butter, you should walk behind him for a sacrifice of 1 HP. It makes it much easier. Not that it needs to be easier, but just a tip. Next up we have Ollie Bulb, the little onion boy. You could wait for him to stop crying and fight the turnip instead, but I wouldn't recommend it. Avoiding the tears is easy, and the turnip makes the carrot way harder than it should be. The weird idea of a psychic carrot, people don't seem to understand, but I do get it, and I think it's about how carrots help your eyesight. No one else picked up on that for some reason. Oh, whatever. Little rant aside, these bosses are a piece of cake, even if they are vegetables. I got this one in 3 tries. It wasn't much. Here we see the innocent flower, so kind, so fresh, and bam! You get hyped for a boss fight much easier than it actually looks. First stage, he uses his head like a machine gun, shooting off what I can assume to be poisonous seedlings. I'd recommend the chasing weapon for this, particularly Clack Shot if you have it at this point, because it'll take out the seeds as they come, which makes this fight much easier. Second stage adds in some boomerang, carrot things, and it's pretty much the same as the first. And the final stage is definitely the easiest. He does this little banana move, shooting out spiky vines that coat out the floor. Just avoid the flowers and stay on the unspiked platforms. Wow, that was simple. Wait. Am I missing something? Oh. That has gotta cause neck pain. Ugh. Points for style, I guess. Number 22, Sally Stage Play. She's not even close to aisle 3 worthy. I beat her on my first try, on my first playthrough, and expert mode was just as fast. The first stage is entirely unremarkable. She'll spin around a bit, drop some roses, try to hit on you? Lady, your husband is right there. Back off. Or he was right there. Oh no, this is one of the bosses with the secret phase, and if you stand on either of the hanging cherubs, the ceiling will fall down, crushing her beloved hubby. She looks very sad for someone trying to cheat with a porcelain cup. Next stage is either a nursery or the nunnery, depending on how dead her lover is. It's definitely the hardest part, and I tend to struggle with the mice toys and the crosses, depending on the stage. But it's not too much of a challenge. Last off, she comes to fight you as a god type of thing and utterly fails at proving her dominance. Also, your competition is here, and he's angry considering you stole his wife and murdered him. Get rid of both of them and walk away to an easy encore. Number 21, Hildeberg. A little blimp lady that plans to laugh at you until you spontaneously combust. Spoilers, it doesn't work. The first stage is a piece of cake, as well as most of the constellations. Keyword, most. This fluffer made me want to pull my hair out. The reason it took me so long to beat Hilda on Expert was this Apollo thing. Luckily, he doesn't show up often on normal mode, so you can just attempt right past him. The final stage is pretty hard, but it doesn't take too long, and the stars do literally nothing. This boss is easy for Cuphead, but not much else. Number 20, Captain Brinybeard. Okay, I can hear the shouting now, calling for my blood with pitchforks. They all think this boss is hard, and I did it in 5 tries. I honestly didn't find it difficult. Sure, there's a lot of stuff, but it's simple to dodge, and if you're on aisle 3, you should be prepared to deal with it. Everything has a clear visual cue beforehand as well. The dogfish can be shot at, the squid is the same, the octopi bullets are free parries, and the shark is just laughable. But Ivy, you cry, what about the barrel? It's so hard. And when the laser attack is going, it can't be dodged. I feel kind of bad telling you this, but you can dodge roll. Like, move while you're ducking. Problem solved. 19, Ribby and Croaks. By far the most difficult aisle 1 boss. But that's not saying much. These Froggo's first 2 phases are easy, but I have a terrible time with the finale. They roll up into a gross cannibal's brother slot machine, and oh boy is it hard. You would think the platforms are difficult, which they are, don't get me wrong, but what gets me every time is the stinking coins. It seems stupid, but it's easy to trip up when hitting such a high parry. Number 18, the Phantom Express. This boss is the final basic fight, the gateway to King Dice himself, and even the devil. And underwhelmingly, it's kind of pathetic. Don't get me wrong, it's a good challenge, and it took me a long while, but it's not exactly finale worthy. The first stage with the blind eye dude is hard, and the next 2 are absolutely nothing. You can stand between the skeleton hands, and the lollipop ghosts are easy to move the card away from. The final stage had me stuck for a while. It's simply a lot of things to keep track of, but not too hard after some practice. Number 17, Calamaria. The hot fish herself. Now I can see why some of you are fans of this boss, but I just genuinely love her octopus wig. If I ever decide to become an evil siren, I'm totally stealing that look. Her first phase is okay, but it's the second that gets me. Now, if you're on aisle 3, you should be no stranger to bullet hell, but this is on another level. Take Dr. Call's robot final phase. Now freeze yourself in place. Do you see the problem? Is there an issue here? This would be fine if the beam was dodgeable, but it covers nearly the entire screen and there's no going around it. This means most of the shots feel extremely cheap. The third stage isn't as bad about this, as you can pre-maneuver your character when she's about to shoot, but it still sucks. After a bit of luck, you can kiss Calla goodbye and fly off stone-free. Number 16, Baroness von Bonbon. Now, this boss is a little weird. The Baroness herself can be one of the easiest bosses on this list. Or, this level can be Mother Frosting Hell. Take a look at these 5 bosses. Can you tell me where the problem is? Spot the difference, if you will. Yep, that's right. I've never hated anything more than this cupcake. I always take at least 1 hit on this phase, usually 3. The amount of death screens I've gotten from this gluten-free mistake of a creation is absurd. Luckily, you only have to deal with him half of the time, so you can plow right through that candy castle to an easy victory. It gets this spot because of the cupcake though, like no doubt, it has to be here. Number 15, Beppy the Clown. The hardest part about this boss is reading his absolute dad jokes on the end screens. Comedy gold, people, he's got a real future in entertainment. That aside, I did struggle with the last stage, and avoiding the baseballs while staying on the platforms is nearly impossible. I would always have to go in with at least 3 health to even have close to a successful attempt, so that alone propelled him quite a while. Still, he doesn't have the same consistent difficulty as some later on the list, so this is as far as the rodeo is gonna ride. Number 14, the Howling Aces. I would first like to say that dogfighting dogs is such a good concept. As far as creativity and design goes, this would be in my top 5. Unfortunately for these pooches, this list is not about art. And it was definitely the easiest of the DLC. Maybe that would be saying more if the DLC wasn't freaking impossible, but I digress. The dog bowls and bone tattoos from the first stage aren't bad once you know the pattern, and the second stage isn't hard at all. Now, the last one throws me for a loop, quite literally. The screen flips, orientations, and even your controls change. Now, if you want to avoid this, you can choose the alternate stage by shooting each of the Yankee Yippers until the smoke turns gray, but it doesn't help much. I prefer the screen flip. Regardless of the route, though, this boss is a challenge to be sure, and a good thing to kick off an amazing. Number 13, Werner Vermin. Now, I need you not to laugh at me. Make a promise real quick. But I thought this was a dog. I said don't laugh, okay? Yep, me and my brother had to live with this for a very long time, and I honestly don't know what was going through our head. It looked like a dog. I saw the cat. I knew it said vermin in the title. I'm sorry. That aside, I found this boss a welcome challenge. I don't usually worry too much about the last stage. It's by far the easiest, but parrying those springboards always trips me up. I don't know why. And don't get me started on the bottle caps. There's no getting out of that mess without a bit of a hit. But once you cross the entry, it's smooth sailing, and you can unmask the mastermind and finish this dog rat thing off. Number 12, the Moonshine Mob. Once again, one of the coolest concepts for a boss I've seen. The DLC pulled out all the stops. I absolutely recommend the crack shot for this fight if you don't want your screen clogged really fast. The first stage gets hectic, and if you don't kill all the little things as they appear, you're gonna die. With the smoke bomb in the second stage, it's not bad, but without it, ooh, do I hate this one. The anteater's okay as long as you get rid of the bug balls fast. Don't let there be more than 3 on the screen at a time if you'd like to live. Now, when I first played this, it got me pretty stuck, and when I finally saw that knockout screen, I threw my hands off the switch in a victory cry. Mistakes were made. It took me another hour to get back to the fake knockout, and that alone means this boss deserves a spot for tricking me. Not many games can do that, so kudos, Cuphead. You got me. Oh, but boy do I hate it. Number 11, Glumstone the Giant. In this battle, you are not fighting Glumstone. You are not fighting puppets. You aren't even fighting the mountain. No, the true enemy is the gnomes. Look into those eyes. There's nothing behind them. Yep, every obstacle in this fight is caused by these gnomes. The fight itself was started by the gnomes. First stage would be simple if not for the gnomes in the ground and the cauldron. Puppets are no problem if I could stand in the same spot for more than 2 seconds. The last stage is my favorite, not because it's easy, but it's because I don't have to look at any more of these cone-head-shaped toothpick mother-fluffing mistakes. You did it, guys! We're entering the top 10, and I just want to say I find all of the bosses past this point hard. Not video game hard, Cuphead hard. Super Meat Boy hard. I'm going to feed my game console to a whale hard. Be prepared, soldiers, and arm your porcelain. Number 10, the Devil. Here he is, the man himself, kicking off our top 10. As the final boss of the base game, I do wish he was a little harder, but it's nothing to scoff at. Well, maybe the first stage is, but after that, it's almost impossible to avoid everything. Just expect to get hit. This is one of the few bosses I bring invincibility to, particularly for the final stage. I just can't maneuver on one platform, so I personally find those precious seconds of invulnerability necessary for a victory. It wasn't the perfect finality, but this boss is no cakewalk, and once you give him one final farewell, you can feel content knowing you have just beaten one of the hardest video games the world has to offer. Rip up your contracts and be happy. Until the DLC comes out and you get to do it all again. Number 9, Rumor Honeybottoms. Fun fact about me, I hate up-facing auto-scrollers. There's a reason I always disliked fuzzy time mining from Super Mario 3D World. You know the giant scrolling cat tower? Never liked that one either. You know the ones. Now, Rumor on her own isn't that bad, but my brain can never remind myself to jump to the next platform. Never, not once. I couldn't tell you why, but somehow I always leave jumping to the last moment, and by then the platform is too far away. I make this mistake at least once a try, usually more. The faces are nothing special, it's a personal struggle. Feel free to tell me exactly how I'm an idiot and why this boss is so easy, but I'm never gonna be able to get past this. I'm so sorry. Number 8, Jimmy the Great. This is one of the most consistently hard boss fights from the base game. It really keeps up the heat all the way through. Each stage has a new challenge, none of which are easy. The first one can either be the easiest or the hardest, depending on what attack you get. So all you can do is pray, please not the cats. The second is definitely the easiest, but not by much. The Catacombs space stage is hard. Both the Cuphead and the Puppet versions are hard, and I struggle with the final stage every time. Overall, a real challenge all the way through and not to be taken lightly by any stretch of the imagination. Number 7, Grim Matchstick. I don't get this. Every ranking I've seen is, oh, the dragon's so hard. He's the most difficult, the freaking second stage. This took me 100 tries. It was hard, of course. That's why it's in number 7. But come on, people. It wasn't all that bad. I found the first stage the easiest, with the most difficult part being staying on the platforms, and that might just be because of my problem with auto-scrollers. Now, I want to talk about the second stage. For a long time, I agreed with everyone else. The flames felt so cheap and random, and I almost gave up. Until I noticed something very important. The flames will always jump to the side, the opposite side of which you're facing. Once I noticed this pattern, it helped me a ton, and please give it a try if you're stuck on this. It helps, I promise. The final stage is really bad, I will admit, but with enough practice, I promise you're gonna get it. Don't let the hype around this boss fight discourage you. It's not the impossible barrier we've set it up as. You got this. You gotta go get flambéed because this thing is gonna kill you, but you got this regardless. Let's go! Number 6, Mortimer Freeze. I didn't think a fridge could cause PTSD, but this boss has proven me wrong. Kidding, of course, but dang was this thing a nightmare. The first phase was impossible, especially the icicles, but I got past it. The freaking snow monster, oh my god, it drives me nuts. I can never tell if it's going over or under, and the popsicles make it impossible to dodge the ice cubes. The final stage is awful, even worse than the dragon one, mostly because of moving platforms, but the laser eyes trip me up every time. I beat it once, and I'm never going back. Thank you and good night. Number 5, King Dice. Now, in most ranking videos, the King Dice mini-bosses are all ranked separately. I'm not about to waste my time. Nobody watches the videos to hear about the mini-bosses, and I'm guessing most of you will just skip to the top 10. I see my retention, I'm not going to drag this out, don't worry. So you might be asking, how are you going to rank King Dice if the difficulty changes every time? Simple, I'm going to assume you can parry. I mean, you should be able to at this point in the game. As long as you parry the dice on time, I can almost guarantee you that you'll get the bosses you want. Just take the ones you find easiest. Now, fighting multiple bosses is nothing to scoff at, regardless of difficulty, and jumping over the cards is a struggle for me. Plus, humans aren't perfect, and once every few runs you're gonna get stuck with Mr. Chimes or the freaking rabbit dude. So, it's high for a good reason, and I took forever on this boss. He's harder than the devil for sure, and I kind of wish he was the final one. All that out of the way, I do consider him one of the hardest bosses in this game and well deserving of his spot. Number 4, Esther Winchester. I love this boss. Well, I would love it if it wasn't freaking impossible. Still, I find myself with a smile on my face every time I play this, and I really don't know why. It might be a me thing, but it's hard to hate this one. Regardless of what I think of it though, it's a challenge, especially the final stage. Weaving through the sausage links always seems to get me, and the sheer amount of objects always overwhelms me. It's like you're taking a freaking bio test with all the things you have to remember, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. Number 3, Wally Warbles. I hate this bird, I hate this bird, I hate that bird. Oh, you didn't hear me? I hate this bird. This was the second level I tried on the second aisle, and it was a wake-up call. This boss told me to put on my big girl pants or quit. This isn't for wusses, and you're gonna need to step it up. All the time combined, this boss took me nearly a month and another week to beat it on expert. The third phase with his son is definitely my least favorite, mostly because of the spinning egg block that blocked the majority of attacks, so it always seems to last forever. Best of luck to those attempting this, and I salute to all my fallen comrades. Number 2, Dr. Calls Robot. I would like to ask the developers a question. Why? Why would you do this to me? You just had to create this, didn't you? May all your games be forever glitchy and your computers always crash for the pain you have caused me. Sorry, had to get that out of my system. This boss is the perfect storm of pain. I can't even describe it. Multiple days of my life went into this, and even more to beating on it on expert mode. Kudos to the devs, you have successfully made the most frustrating experience of my life. And this is number 2. I can beat this consistently now, and that's what kept it from the top spot. I only pulled out half my hair over this boss. And if you want to know where the other half went, stick around. Although I'll only warn you once. Number 1, Chef Saltbaker. This is the boss I wish the devil was. As far as a finale to a game like Cuphead, they couldn't have chosen something more infuriating or more perfect than this. I'm not gonna bother explaining it move by move. What makes this boss is the combination. It has tight dodges, aiming, fast reflexes, and my arch enemy, the auto-scrolling tower level. You had to put this in the finale, didn't you? But this is an extra special poison for me. Because the animation is so gosh darn wonderful, I can't even play the first stage. How could you make me choose? I just want to watch the fruit torture, please. This final level has it all. The perfect ending to a perfect game. And that's the end of my list. I do hope you enjoyed, and please let me know if you agree with my rankings. This video has been in my head since before I had a channel to begin with, so I'm so glad to be finally putting it out. Now, if you're a returning viewer, you might remember my hamster challenge, and today's word will be porcelain. That should be a nightmare to spell, I can't wait. The rules are basically try to work it into your comment, and I'll pin the most creative response. This is just your way of letting me know that you watched all the way to the end and you appreciate what I do. Also, I need more questions for my Q&A, so if you have something you'd like to ask me, please leave it down below. One final thing before you go. If you have watched this far, perhaps you did enjoy it. And if so, I'd really appreciate if you liked the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like it. It's not required, but it's a gift I greatly appreciate. Well, thank you all very much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day.